Now, last Friday was Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Now, over the years, the country's security forces have been, have been battling the Boko Haram insurgency, which has claimed thousands of lives and condemned several others to internally displaced persons' camps scattered throughout the country. At the southern Kaduna conflict, violent clashes between the Fulani herdsmen and farmers all over the country, renewed surge in kidnapping in major cities and villages, among others. Now, one of the primary responsibilities of government, however, is to safeguard lives and property and also the welfare of citizens and safeguard people from external and internal aggression. Now, the first is usually the responsibility of the military. The second duty falls on the police when it comes to internal security. And these are some of the things we'll be talking about in the next couple of minutes. Now, joining us to discuss this is veteran and security consultant, Captain Aliyu Babangida, retired, is joining us via Skype. Captain Babangida, it's good to have you join me this morning. Good to see you and Happy New Year.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Great. Now, the issue of security has been on. If you look at the papers every single day, it brings us the updates of what is going on. It is either in Borno State, or it's in Kaduna, or it's in Niger State, or in Zamfara State, or Nasarawa State, or Benue, whatever it is. But the point there is, a lot of analysts have said that has anything really changed between the last few years and now? Are we making progress so far in the fight against insecurity? What is your assessment of this, generally, if you make comparison with the trends?
If you look at security, as I have said in the past, or let me put it in the past 6 years, on the national security level, our fortunes are blinking. The threats, as we know them, kidnappers, ritualists, rapists, insurgents, you name it, they have become bolder progressively in the last 6 years. And as a result of the fact that the onslaught, if I can call it that at all, by government, the so-called onslaught on insecurity, has no destination. They're just drifting. The only thing we can measure to a point of exactitude about that is the expense or the expenditure. When it comes to results, the results are not meeting expenditures. Conversely, we are seeing these criminals become bolder. We have seen the reckoning law enforcement agencies, including the armed forces, have diluted. And the civil populace seem to be taking the brunt. Now, the sad implication of this, albeit gradual, is day by day, slowly, we are edging towards that day when we will have a national outrage. That national outrage is going to be similar to what our children or the youth did when they just couldn't take any more from the police. Day by day, we see slaughtering, murdering, what have you. And we hear humongous amounts being spread. We get verbiages, all manner of very, very annoying verbiages. We get people even recycle committees. Then there is also the litany of no stones being left unturned, high delegation condolence visits, and all those things. We're running out of it, and gradually the outrage levels is building.
But as it is right now, we recall that President Muhammadu Buhari, in his New Year message to Nigerians, promised to, reorganize the security, bolster the strategy in security. Although he didn't mention the issue of the change in leadership of the service chiefs, but a lot of analysts have been saying fresh people should come in with fresh ideas to see how the direction could change. I wonder what you make of this. I know you have a point. I know you have a position on this.
Okay, talking about promises, if I go back to my database at Goldwater Consults, that's the 23rd promise he has made from the day he started campaigning to date. That promise on New Year's Day is 23. If I add, can we move on? Please, just ask me another question.
All right. What you just said alone tells a lot about what you make of that. But basically, like you talked about the investment in the equipment, the money that is being expended, and then the result not meeting each other as the case may be. What do you think is basically the missing link here? Because when it comes to the capacity and intellect and the morale of the average Nigerian security agent, they can stand with all pride anywhere in the world.
Really, they can. But let me assure you that leadership is key in any part of the world where the armed forces or security operations is concerned. And the reason is simple. The nature of our own kind of work has this peculiarity of the men taking cues from their leaders. What that means is if a security community, a community of security men, if a community of security men is led by a puppy, they will behave like puppies. And if a community of security men is led by a lion, they will behave like lions. The reason is simple. For you not to behave in sync with your leader in the regimental professions will spell career suicide. So you cannot be overbearing, you cannot be too forward. What we need, as I told you, is direction and a destination. The moment we define what we want to do, we define how we want to do it, when we want it done, every single component of that plan sits up. You don't breast the tapes, you get out. But as I speak to you at the moment, there is no direction. There is no destination. We are drifting. What we get are maybe what you call sound bites as journalists, but I call it verbiages. And verbiages won't do the job. The criminals tend to have sensed that, and so they've become bolder. The criminals seem to be telling us that, look, we don't see when our leaders finish. Nothing will happen. That's what we're seeing. Every day they get bolder, they get more daring, but then there is a converse side to that coin, which will not augur well, again, for the leaders, particularly the politicians. Outrage. The outrage index is gradually and slowly building up. So gradual, so slow, it may not be significantly noticeable, just like no one saw the youths and NSAS coming. But one incident burst the bubble. That's what I see from my database, of course.
All right. Now, I guess security agents are also monitoring and watching from what you are saying. I recall that you use a term sometime here on the program saying that what we have is an imposed peace, which anything can happen in such a situation. But let's get to recall that sometime last year, an American who was was brought to Nigeria, and within days he was rescued through collaboration and through all the effort that were put together from the American security agencies in collaboration with the Nigerian security. Now, when it comes to understanding the terrain and understanding what we have on our hands, there's also the saying that Nigerians or the Nigerian security agents, they don't lack the understanding of what it takes. The president we have now is a retired military general. In fact, it was the fight against Metasine in the early 80s. It was credited to him at the time when he was still in the system. The chief of army staff, he's from Borno State. Should all of these things add up to what should have given us an edge or a milestone in the fight against insurgency originally?
Yes, you have a point there, but let me, we are going gray in some of these areas, okay? It's becoming opaque. Let me just wipe it. We tend to say our command.
All right, we're losing part of your audio there, Captain Aliyu Babangida. talking to us on the issue of security. All right. We have been talking with Captain Aliyu Babangida, retired. He is a security consultant and a retired captain of the Nigerian Nigerian Air Force, and as it is also the Nigerian Army. Now, the point there is, we've been talking about the challenges around security. On the papers every day, you get to see the headlines across many papers in Nigeria on a daily basis as to what is going on, how people are going through different challenging times, some people losing their lives, villages being vacated or evacuated one way or the other, and people falling victim to bandits and all of that. And in fact, the latest one right now is talking about bandits attacking villages in parts of Niger State and other states in the northwest. Now, these are all of the things he was looking at and talking about the challenges that we face as a country. I understand Captain Babangida is back now. Okay, Captain Aliyu Babangida, you were making a point earlier on when I asked as to how all of this, the issue of the president being a retired general and having the chief of army staff who is originally from Borno State, whether they add up and should give us a milestone. You said that we're going grey in some of the areas. Can you go ahead with your point?
The president is a retired general, yes, but he's a retired general politician. Don't forget, even before he left the army, he delved into politics. You see, career soldiers are career soldiers. Those who decide to do politics actually they become either of neither. They are not politicians, nor are they career soldiers. So you can see that the Chief of Army Staff's leaning in that comparison is more undiluted than the president's. The Chief of Army Staff, General Buratai, has what we call native ability of that terrain, even though he has his weaknesses, yes. But coming from there, he has what we call native ability. And native ability gives you an edge because you are playing on home ground. But as I told you earlier again, you take cue from your leader. It's that simple. You take cue from your leader. Don't forget, if native ability were it, then those American SEALs who came in and just sealed up an operation in less than 6 hours and were out again, they don't have native ability, but they have the technological edge that gives them what they lack in native ability. So combat itself and leadership have certain meeting points. But if you look at our commander-in-chief closely, you discover that when it comes to professional militarism and politics, we cannot say he's a hybrid. We can simply say he's neither of either. And it shows.
All right. Now, you're talking about the issue of comparative advantage. What do we have as our comparative advantage in security, which we should deploy to the fight against insurgency in the Northeast and also the restive situation in the Northwest?
For a fact, the fact that we're fighting in our own country is an advantage.
Okay.
Apart from the fact that we're fighting from our own country being an advantage, the fact that we have all it takes to clear these people out is a second advantage. Yes, we seem to be a bit obsessed about getting weapons and what have you from foreign countries. But then we should also conversely analyze the fact that these insurgents and security threats as we see them, where do they get their own, which foreign countries are giving them those sophisticated weapons we require to defeat them? What we need to defeat them is our imagination, metacognition, and we also need results. We need results. If we sit on our game and we're really masters of the art we profess, we should be able to say with so much, I can do X, Y, Z much within ABC time. That's not the case. Rather, we see security agencies and cheating us. You call for reports, you call for explanations, essays, and stories. That's not how it is done. By now, I've said this and I'm tired of saying it. A roadmap should have since been released and adhered to this. And as the service chiefs come and go, they just continue from where whoever stopped. But are we getting there? No, we're drifting. And that in itself comes across to our threats as weakness. And that makes them bolder.
All right. Talking about roadmaps, we've had members of the service chiefs in the past give us time frame that Boko Haram by the next 3 months or by the next 6 months, Boko Haram will be a thing of the past. If we have roadmaps of that kind, wouldn't it remind Nigerians of how they are not being followed, and then Nigerians don't buy into it and don't believe that kind of roadmap?
Quite the contrary.
Okay.
If you have a roadmap, and of course a roadmap comes with timelines, that burns the mess out of all stakeholders. Their performance evaluations will depend on that roadmap and how far into it we drive or how far out of it we remain. Don't forget, those who are going to write the scripts of that roadmap are the same people who are going to execute it. So it's like asking a student to write the questions for his own exams, because he will also have to mark the exams for himself. And we expect that since he wrote the questions, he will know the answers.
All right. I really wish it happens that way so Nigerians can sleep with their both eyes closed. But talking about the fact that
we have to stop and demand it happens that way.
Okay. Okay. Now, Nigerians, even the past leaders of Nigeria have at one point or the other agreed that the war we are fighting is not a conventional war. It is an ideological war. So if we approach it with all the equipment and all of that, it still does not put things to an end, because the point is there's still so much fighting in the minds of those who are ready to become recruits into insurgency. Talk to us from the issue of combating this from the ideological perspective. How far can that go?
I must assure you that way before it came this way, ideological terrorism has been alive and well. It didn't start with us, it won't end with us, and it must not be an excuse to make our land a no-go area for these people. I can mention countries around us to which they haven't even reared their heads. I can mention countries where they went, they tested it and discovered there was no profit there and left. This idea of telling me terrorism is meant to be eternity bound and what have you doesn't cut any ice with me. Yes, it's meant to serve till the end of time. So what? We should go home and sleep, or we should plan to fight till the end of time? No, we have things to do. Even where terrorism has been before it came here, they don't bury people with tractors and bulldozers. That sounds like an excuse to me. We cannot be lame-ducked because some people can speak English. We want results. We are spending money, serious money, and for what we are spending, we are using tractors to bury people. The frequency is almost one attack every day, or let me say one death every day, if not one attack. If it's not terrorist, it's ritualist. If it's not ritualist, it's rapist. If it's not rapist, it's bandits. Come on, guys, what are we talking about here? Crime is crime, and we need to fight it on all fronts. All the security agencies must write their own scripts and give us a roadmap of how they want to support the drive to either contain or stop this thing, or their chieftains should leave.
As simple as that. All right. With that, we have to leave it here now. Captain Aliyu Babangida, retired. Thank you so much for your insight every time on this issue around security. And like you said, the Nigerian security agents have what it takes, and it's just the right leadership, and we will be there. Thank you so much for your time on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.